Thank you for joining Pioneer. I'm Chris with Norman Public Library Central, and this is the 6th video in our series on the Swift computer programming language. You're still there, and I'm still here, and we're still learning the Swift programming language. In our last lesson, we learned about the if-else statement, also known as the conditional. It's one of the most important concepts in all of computer programming, so we're going to cover it some more today. Very exciting and new. In your last challenge, I asked that you create a list of your family members, and then loop through that list and print out something different if it sees you. Here's my solution to that challenge. I create a list of my family members, I loop over each member of my family, I check to see if the current member is me. If that person is me, I print out that I'm awesome, and if it's not, I print out, well, something else. If I run this code, and we look at the results, we can see that it prints out that everyone else is pretty okay, I guess, but that I'm awesome. Obviously, completely true.
What?
Okay, let's move on to covering more conditionals in Swift. Today, we're going to begin with a blank playground. I'll begin by creating an array called coin. It's an array because coins have two possible values, heads and tails. Now I'll create another variable called toss, and we're going to toss our coin. It turns out that in Swift, you can ask an array for a random component of itself. By typing the name of the array and then a dot, you have access to many different items in the array. Some of those items are pieces of information about the array, like its capacity or its count. Count is how many elements are in that array. In our case, that's 2. But I can also ask it to do things to itself. So I can, for example, choose a random element from my array, which will give me a string. But if you look carefully, you'll see it's not giving me just a string. It's giving me a string question mark. That is an optional string. And it's optional because it's possible that your array has no elements in it. In our particular case, we know that we have at least one element, so asking for a random element will for sure give us one thing. So I'm going to put an exclamation mark at the end of this line to tell Swift to ignore the fact that it might not give me any answer, because we know that coin is going to give us an answer this time. Now I can say if toss is equal to heads, and then we'll say that you win if it's heads. But if it's not heads, that's the else side of our if statement, I can print out I win. This is the same kind of if statement that we saw in our last lesson. It has two possible branches, either heads or tails. But what if I make a change to my array and I add a third condition? What if it's possible for the coin to land on its edge? In our case, random element is going to give us each one of these an equal number of times, which is not going to be very realistic. But we need to add another case. So instead of saying else on line 7, I'm going to say else if toss is equal to tails. And if it's not heads and it's not tails, now we know that it's a tie. It's not a very realistic competition because edge is going to come up 1/3 of the time in our coin toss, but it does show you that we have a more complex conditional, an if, else statement. And your if, else if can have as many else if branches if you want. So my challenge to you this week is to make a list of your favorite foods and then use toss to choose a random food from that list. Then experiment with using if-else statements to print out different things depending on what food the computer chose for you. Thanks for joining me, and have a great day.